Piyush, worried should the Indian textile manufacturers and exporters to US be because of the zero duty on Bangladesh's textile in the recently announced US deal between Bangladesh and US?
I don't think there is anything to be worried only on that account of 0% duty, because Nisha, like you rightly said, that is an option that was available anyway to the Indian exporters. Because today Bangladesh has not got an unconditional 0%. There 0% applies if US sourced cotton is used, and which is available for us because a US source exemption is always available. So today, if Indian exporters were to use US cotton and export garment, we were anyway at 0%. We would get relief or exemption for that. So that per se does not really make either us uncompetitive or Bangladesh hugely competitive only on account of tariffs.
And is there also a caveat, Ajay, of 20% minimum use for this exemption to be there for India? Would you have that technicality? Yes. And is that same for Bangladesh as well?
So that's not there in the trade deal. It only says that, in fact, the trade agreement, if you read the Bangladesh trade agreement, also talks of certain limit on the quantity and quality, which may be decided by US and monitored. Therefore, it's an absolute. It's very clear that it's not an unconditional 0% for Bangladesh. How that plays out, what are the conditions US will impose, will have to be seen. But also important to remember, commercially, the US cotton tends to be much more expensive than what Bangladesh or India, for that matter, would be using at this point. Therefore, leaving tariff aside, it may not even make commercial sense to become competitive to buy US cotton and start exports.
That's right. So that puts Indian textile industry also at par with Bangladesh, given this particular caveat that it is not without condition. And Indian manufacturers would rather use Indian manufactured inputs because that gives them the cost competitiveness as well. So thanks for that clarity. But also in this whole large deal, what else has Bangladesh given up in this trade deal, which India would not really give up and are no-go areas for India?
Nisha, I think that is the most important thing, which can't be lost. That context can't be lost. There are a lot of red lines that we have. Genetically modified goods on agriculture, biotech goods, plus data localization. These are three top things that I can tell you Bangladesh has given up. If you look at the trade deal, very clear that biotechnology, which is approved by US fit for consumption, can be sold into Bangladesh, with Bangladesh not applying any further rules. Similar thing on products which are processed food. Very clear. It says that once US approves, Bangladesh has to accept it. What is very interesting is even on something like halal certification, the trade deal says once a US approved person certifies it as a halal certified product, Bangladesh has to simply import it and sell it. And Bangladesh can't apply any further rules or certification for it being halal certified. So some of these very clearly are red lines for us, no-go areas which Bangladesh has given up to get that 0%, which, as we discussed, is not even an unconditional 0%.
Pointed out on that halal certification, and also some of the sectors like agriculture, where Piyush Goyal has clearly enumerated that India's interests had to be protected, and that was one of the standoff points between India as well as US. My final question to you on data transfer. One of the clauses also suggests that Bangladesh to ensure transfer of data to the US. What does this really mean, and what is India's stand on this?
So we've been very clear on data localization. If you see, there are clear RBI rules on payment processors having to localize data. So I'm just taking it as an example. If you see Visa, MasterCard, etc., have to process their data in India with data centers in India. The payment data relating to what you and I use on credit cards can't be stored on a server outside India, for example, and they've all been complying with it. There are similar data localization rules which are in the works for social media companies and others. And that's been a point of negotiation even between India and US. And India has been holding the ground, and rightly so, about data localization and data relating to Indians staying in India. Bangladesh has clearly given that up. In fact, they've also given us the right to tax digital companies, the digital services by US companies. So Meta, etc., will not be taxed in Bangladesh with a specific rule. They've given us the right to levy digital tax on US digital companies and also free transfer of data, which means the Bangladeshi data can get stored and transferred to US servers, to put very simply.
Is something that is a complete no-go area for the Indian
Correct.
government, and so is many agricultural products as well.